Welcome back to Spotlight UG, broadcasting live on NBS Television and UBC Television, inspiring Uganda. And today's discussion is basically about easing doing business in Uganda as a country that looks forward to also attaining economic independence. How do we as a whole contribute to this dream by formalizing our businesses, by doing a fair share of paying the taxes? That way we will be able to get the services, and it also gives you the audacity to ask and request and demand that your taxes or the monies that you get to pay work. The hashtag is Spotlight UG for any questions that are coming through, and we will, of course, be sharing some of your questions. And still with us in the house at the next conference center is the Uganda Registration Services Bureau. We do have the Registrar General, Ms. Kainobwisho. We also do have the Commissioner General of the Uganda Revenue Authority with us at the NCC, and we also have the Deputy Executive Director of the Private Sector Foundation discussing how we can better the environment for doing business, and that way we will be able to meet our obligations as a whole. As we took a break, we were talking about the formalization process, some of the reasons that many of these businesses are still operating informally and hiding through. And to you, Ms. Kainobwisho, the question is the contribution of Uganda Registration Services Bureau to formalization, the formalization process entirely, through which then URA comes in to pick up the taxes later.
Thank you, Mildred. And the Ugandan economy is private sector led. And this means that it is the small, medium sector or enterprises that run the show in as far as the economy is concerned. Uganda has a population of 43 million people.
And still growing.
And still growing by 1.2 million every year. But with COVID-19 pandemic, babies may go to 1.5 million. But when you look at the register that URSB has, it has less than 1 million registered businesses. And to be specific, it is 800,000 registered businesses. When you look at the economies or the cities that you come from, the local governments that you come from, everybody is operating a business. It is stated that every 2 out of 10 Ugandans are running a business. And this is a report that came out in 2017, 2018. And we have also been rated as the most entrepreneurial country. The women of Uganda are also rated as the most entrepreneurial women in the world. So that means that doing business or starting business is our culture, is part of our culture as Ugandan. So we have that leverage. It's one thing to start a business, and it is another to formalize it. We, as Uganda Registration Services Bureau, our target is to move the informal sector to the formal sector. Because if these businesses are not known by the state, it is very hard to plan for them. If these businesses are not registered, they are not validly recognized, they cannot access credit, there is no bank that will give a loan or extend credit facilities to an unregistered entity. If you want to trade within the country and be competitive, you must be registered. Your brands must be registered. Your patents must be registered. If you want to acquire land or acquire property as an entity which is a legal person under the law, you have to be registered. If you want to trade across borders under the Common Markets Protocol of East Africa that provides for free movement of goods, services, you must be registered. And so Uganda Registration Services Bureau is very vital in this whole process. And to register your business or to start your business you must start with Uganda Registration Services Bureau. Whether you are an investor in Uganda, a local or a foreign investor, the starting point is URSB for formalization. And the registration takes different phases. There's application for registration of your name. There's a search and examination of the registrar to give you a go-ahead on where the name can go through so it doesn't cause confusion in the market space. Then you pay the registration fee through the banks that are within our one-stop center, or through mobile money or using Visa. They are all payment models available. Then once the payment has been done with regard to registration fees and stamp duty, then we give you a certificate within 3 to 4 hours. It is as easy as that.
Okay.
But so what after registration? We have the pre-registration requirements, then the registration requirements, but also the post-registration services. And this is where we have collaborative engagements with a URA, because when you register with us, we have a one-stop shop, a one-stop model, where you register your business for a tax identification number, you register your business for NSSF. If you're in a local government, you get the trading license through the Ministry of Local Government station in our office. If it is a capital city, Kampala capital city, you get from the KCCS station. This is within the one-stop shop at URSB. If you want to procure land, to purchase land, there's Ministry of Lands. If you want to get the national identification, you have to, there's NIRA represented in the one-stop shop that has over 10 ministries, departments, and agencies. And because we cannot register you without identifying yourself, we have integrated our data with the NIRA system, with the URS system, and with the NSSF systems to enable registration. And so we have simplified the registration processes. You can apply online, you can apply by mail, we have even modified the processes, the steps it takes to register business, because the key determinants of the cost of doing business in every economy are the time it takes to register business, and I said it is 3 hours to 4 hours. The cost of doing business, this is the time, how much you pay moving up and down, the cost as in transport, do you have to come to Kampala to register? And this has been enabled through the online registration, but also being in the different regional offices and centers.
Why does the feeling still remain amongst some Ugandans that the process is tedious to register a business?
One of the reasons is that this may be attributed to the level of lack of information by the clients, and we continue to communicate as much as possible. The reason we're also here at NBS, not everybody will appreciate the information. But also we have a culture of not embracing some of this information. We are used to using middlemen, middlewomen. And we have also we have given them a lot of power that they give us misinformation. They make it seem difficult for them to make it, that's a side hustle, their business. The other is the processes that have been enabled. We used to receive memorandum and articles of association that are beyond 30 pages, 20 pages. But now we modified the memorandum and articles of association to be just 1-2 pages. And this is to simplify, because the Companies Act already has a model of the tables that are required, the objects clause, everything is already embedded in the Act. So there was a lot of duplicity. But also when it comes to the cost of maintenance of data on behalf of the state, it is very expensive to keep this data. We are a data center. We have a register, an electronic document management system of all registered entities. But when you're to store all these pages, every company that applies has over 100 pages. And if a company is a busy company, you find it has 1 million pages, and all these have to be stored. So we said, no, we have to amend and modify this. And along the way, also came up with a draft model document, which has not been embraced yet, which involves a URA for the TIN number registration application for registration, NSSF, under the tax payer register expansion project, so that when somebody submits an application with URSB, all this information is captured at the entry point, including the NIN, the National Identification Number. And so when URA wants to give a TIN number, they may not have to get this information again from the same client. They'll pick from the database of URSB to use that for the TIN number. NSSF one-stop model or online model, in addition to the physical one-stop shop. So the processes have been simplified. The cost has been addressed. The coverage has been addressed and enabled by the online system, but also having one-stop shops around the country. We have 44 centers under the tax register expansion project. We are in many regions as URSB, URAs all over across the borders. And so we have made a lot of effort in terms of coverage so that we are accessible to the public or the citizens or the investors, be it local or foreigners.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Mr. Musinguzi, the question that runs through the mind of anyone who is planning on doing a business or already doing is, what do I lose if I don't formalize, or what do I gain in the formalization process? Because many are thinking, after all, you're going to start sending us the mails and knocking on the door and asking for tax returns at the end of the day.
Thank you, Mildred. I like the comment from my sister Mercy. The formalization of business is really primarily for the benefit of the business itself. Now, if a business is to grow from one level to another, for its own benefit, it needs to have some proper records. What was the investment made when you're opening up? What are your expenses? What is your income? What is your profit? And so on and so forth. Now, the information gap that exists between agencies like myself, agencies like my colleagues and myself, where we come from, and our clients is so big that sometimes that information gap complicates their business and our business. I'll take the example of the comment that was earlier made by Francis, that young people
They're complaining
fear,
about you.
yes, they fear URA. They think that once you get a TIN, you must start paying business. Absolutely not true. The reason we want you to get a TIN at the beginning of your business is for us to have a record that, yes, today John has opened a company. This company has no tax obligation at all. We'll give it a tax identification number, the TIN. But it has no tax obligation at all until it has started earning an income. And an income is not equal to a sale. It's not that once you start selling and getting some cash, it means you have an income. No. An income will only be after you have made your sale, taken off your expenses, and you stay with the profit. So it is profit that is considered as income. Okay. And tax will not take your entire profit. It will take only 30% of your net profit. So a company that has registered has no tax obligation at all until it has started earning a profit. The only obligation that that company has is to file a return. Now, what does filing a return mean? That's the word that is scaring the young businesses. Filing a return is sharing this information of your income, your expenses, that's the word they call return. It is your income, your expenses, and your profit. Sharing that record of your income, expenses, and profit. And declaring, should there be a profit, declaring a percentage of tax, 30% of that profit as your tax. If there is no income, you file what they call a nil return. It points to the fact that, yes, I had sales, I had expenses, my expenses were equal to my sales, and I had no profit to declare. And therefore, I filed a nil return. There are businesses that have been filing nil returns for 10 years, some for 20. Whether that is
Are
true
you able
or
whether
not,
to dig, exactly, that was my question. Are you able to dig in deeper on whether I am filing the truth or I am
I'm coming to that,
running
Mildred.
away? Yes.
That may be true because some businesses take long, but also some of that has been abused. People declare information that is not true. So now for starters, the young businesses, they will be declaring the truth because businesses don't easily pick up. So let them feel free. Now that's the first gap that I see, tax education. On the side of Massey, registration of companies, education. So that people can start to know that really relating with URSB and URA at the beginning of my business is not to my detriment. It is to my advantage because these guys will not take what does not belong to them.
Okay.
So that is one. The other gap that I see on our side maybe is to try and ease our processes because you see we are using filing of returns. And maybe whether a return can be filed over a telephone, or it needs you to get a computer, or it needs you to hire a tax expert, is another thing that points to a process. But what we've done at URA, for example, we are cognizant that some businesses may not find it easy to keep records, and that is acceptable. I have a small shop in my trading center. I make sales, I make profit, I go and do shopping, and at the end of the year, yes, I can buy a piece of land or buy a cow or buy an additional acre of land for growing my crops. Yes, there is sign that I have an income and there is progress. Even for that kind of business, without proper records, you can also contribute your fair share of tax. There is what we call presumptive tax. Presumptive tax is for those businesses that may not be in position to keep records and file returns, but who can make an estimate? He will say, at the end of the year, I will have made sales of about 20 million. And we have bands of presumptive tax. So we say, okay, if at the end of the year you've made sales of 20 million, maybe between 20 and 50, and you're in a small trading town, just contribute 100,000 towards government as your tax contribution, as simple as that. Maybe if you're making sales between 50 and 100 million, contribute 300,000, and so on and so forth. So maybe let me quickly move to what we are doing to address those gaps. Because I've told you at the start, we are now deliberate. We know that for us to develop our country, we will not do it with a few taxpayers. When Massey was submitting, she says she has 800,000 registered companies. You should ask me how many of these companies are actively paying tax. About maybe 150. Less, much, much less. But I also know from practice that many people register companies and don't actually go on to make business with those companies.
Okay.
Maybe most of us in this room have some dormant companies. So, why is it important to keep record with Massey and keep record with URA, even if it's for a nil return? We will know that on this date, a company was registered. But after 1 year, this company has made no profit and it has filed a nil return. And second year. And then the third year, when it peaks and it starts making an income, it will declare an income. So there will be visibility of company X registered today, where is it tomorrow and next year and the other year? And if it starts contributing tax, there will also be visibility. It started small, it has grown to medium, and now it's large. The companies you see here today, the multinationals, started small. Shell, Game, they are not indigenous companies. They have where they started. Somewhere in France, a small company started. They kept record, they grew from one step to another, they expanded into Europe, they've come in Africa, Asia, everywhere. That is to the benefit of the business. Proper record keeping, growth, and of course, meeting your obligation of tax. I think this company, Next Media Services, is one of the good examples of indigenous companies. Mr. Karisa started when it was a small company. We've seen it grow. I don't know whether now you've extended into other countries. But there is hope that for a company that starts small and grows and keeps proper record and meets its obligation, one day it will expand into the region and into Africa and beyond. So that is really the whole reason why companies should keep records, should make their tax obligation, because there's chance that you can find partners, you can grow from one level to another. Okay. Now, very quickly, at Uganda Revenue Authority, we are deliberately going to invest in tax education. Let people not run away from us. We've become scarecrows. They have nothing to fear, but yet they run.
Okay.
Register with us and keep in touch with us. File the true returns, we will not harass you. Now, the other category that files wrong returns, there is a solution for them. We are automating our processes. Okay. Now, there is information enough to tell us what every business does, but we have not been utilizing this information. And maybe now I should take the opportunity to kind of give some good alert, whistleblow to our taxpayers, that this is the time to start telling URA the truth. Because very soon we'll find out. Okay. And when we find out, you have to pay more than what you should have paid if you voluntarily disclosed. So we are automating our processes, and we are sharing a lot of information with other parties, third-party information, and we are analyzing that information, and it's bringing up amazing information to us. Remember, if, as an example, you make a sale and you don't declare it, you will say, okay, I'm wise, URA is not watching. But the person who has paid you this money, when he was paying you, there was a VAT input in the money they paid you. So when they are filing their return, they will show me I paid this company and there was an element of VAT. And at that point, I will ask you, can you amend your return? When you filed this return, you did not indicate this income. Or I will come for an audit. And of course, once an audit is done, you don't only pay your taxes, but you also are penalized for that kind of gap. Okay. So as we get to leverage technology and a lot of information that we have, we'll be able to make more informed decisions. We'll be able to make more accurate assessments. And that is where we are going as an organization. But you're also aware that we have a number of smart technologies that we are putting in place. One of them is the digital tracking solution. For, excuse me, for every bottle of water that you drink, excuse me, you can always look out for the digital stamp. This number here is evidence that the water in here is pure and good. It has come from a genuine factory, but it has also paid its tax. So for everybody enjoying a bottle of water that has paid tax, you are not only contributing to nation development, you are also guaranteeing the security and your safety. So these smart initiatives like digital tracking solution, like IFRIS, you've heard about electronic physical receipting and invoicing system. That is one that keeps us up to date on real time about the sales that you're making in your business. And we are just loading it out. A number of people are not yet on board. So all these really will contribute to more accurate and clear information, and it will work for the benefit of the taxpayer, but also for the benefit of revenue collection. We should get more accurate.
All right, thank you very much. We'll be coming back to you. Mr. Kisirinya, on the aspect of tax education, where is the missing link?
Yeah, I think very clearly, as come out in this discussion, there is some information gap. I wouldn't want to say whether there could be also some trust gap of some sort. All taxpayers need to see examples of people who are complying with the taxes, people who are formal, what benefits they actually get out of this. Now, there is a discussion, and I encourage my colleagues on the panel to get interested, that seems to imply that we can create some intermediate organizations, like associations, where those companies or those business people that don't feel comfortable yet to get to URSB to formally register or get to URA can first organize themselves. And then afterwards, they are organized, grown, and then now they can be passed on to URSB and can be passed on to URA. For instance, we know very well that there are cooperative groups at village level, at Gombola level, which actually register, and they are formal, but they don't actually not registering with URSB. They are registering with their local governments. They are registering with some other organizations. Now, you could have something that is similar to come through and bring in these people, incubate them, so to say, first of all, and then you can now let them go to URSB and URA. That could be one of the things we could think about in terms of reaching out to more people to come and register. But having said that, it is very, 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 very important for whoever is doing business to comply with the national laws that are there at the moment. Let us register our businesses. Let us pay taxes. Otherwise, it's not possible at all for us to run our country. And we are not always going to be operating under the radar. If you're operating under the radar, there are so many things that you are not going to benefit from. You can't grow your business because your bank doesn't see you. Just imagine you have operated informally for the last 10 years. All of that history, you actually don't have it anywhere. You cannot say URSB does not have any of your records. If you are fundraising for money, you're looking for partners, you are looking for tenders, for instance, that are being floated in the government under the new arrangements that government has established, like under BUBU, like the preference schemes that are now where local providers access business from government. You cannot, because you are not registered, because you are not paying taxes. So it is important for us as business people, wherever we are, to do our best to register and also to pay taxes. As new or as other reforms get to be instituted, which can help create that middle level, which can help us graduate to the level we want.
All right, thank you very much. Ms. Kainobwisho, the aspect of credit remains a very key factor in enabling businesses, whether it is just startup or its continuity of business. And it becomes a little hard for many businesses. But you earlier on talked about the use of movable assets as collateral, and you talked about the security interest in movable property, which was launched, I think, in 2020. Let's speak to that. How can an individual operating a business be able to use this?
Thank you, Mildred. The Security in Movable Property Act of 2019 provides a mechanism of using your movable property, that is collateral, as movable property chattels as collateral to access funds or...
Can you just have the mic point up a little bit? Yes, go ahead.
Sorry about that. The Security in Movable Property Act of 2019 that was launched by the President through the system of Simple in 2020 September does provide for a platform or a mechanism of using your movable property, which are chattels, as collateral to access a loan from lenders. And lenders here, we mean the financial institutions. Traditionally, we are used to relying on fixed assets. People ask for a land title, the banks will ask for a land title if they want to give you a loan. But this law enables you to use your crops. My brother John was talking about agriculture sector. Your crops, not land. The crops, the trees, because they have value. Your watch, your jewelry, your computer, and all these are movable assets. And the beauty about that law is that it introduces the use of intellectual property as well as collateral, which is a new shift. It's a new business model that is not popular. And what we have done as an institution is we've been engaging the stakeholders on adaptability, on embracing the use of movable property as collateral. I may have my cows, my goats. I'll use them as collateral. My chairs, my fridge, anything that has value and can move. And this enables access to credit in as far as the bigger population that may not have fixed property, but may have movable property or intangible property. And majority of these are youth and women. A woman will have their plantation or their jewelry, their other movable assets, and would want to get a loan, maybe to pay school fees for their children. This young person at the university may want to pay their school fees for the last semester, and they have a laptop, they have some assets. So when they present the collateral registration that has been certified by URSB to the financial institutions, they should be in position to access the finances. The only challenge comes in on valuation of this property. Mm-hmm. The banks have to value how much your cows weigh, how the value in your pine trees, in your plantation, your matoke, if you're envisaging, if you're predicting, or you have a presumption that you're going to get around 100 bunches from the banana plantation by the end of 3 months, the banks should enable you to get a loan to help you take your crops to the marketplace.
In that valuation process, where is me, the person who is trying to get the loan, using my movable property?
Yes, basically what we do as Uganda Registration Services Bureau, we register you. If it is a car, you have a logbook, we register you into the Simple system. And if the banks are going to rely on the logbook of Mildred, they have to check our system. Who is the registered proprietor? And how much loan or credit have they got on that a logbook? If your car is valued at 30 million and you've got 15 million from one financial institution, well and good. But you can also use the same to get another 15 million from another bank, because the value of that property is still valid. So basically, for us as an institution, we have gone ahead to register. We have sensitized banks, we have sensitized all stakeholders, and we continue.
So
and
do I, as a business, sorry to interrupt you, do I, as a business, come in right now and register with URSB all my movable properties? Yes. So just in case I need to use them, it is easy for the financial institutions too?
True. It must be registered with Uganda Registration Services Bureau. It is a precondition to the bank's relying on it because we are the ones with the mandate to register that. And it's a new system.
Okay.
It's a new system that we're trying to promote because we know that we can only enable access to credit by using the movable property, which is the majority. Your business may be falling. You want to rescue or recapitalize it, and yet you have a fleet of cars. You have a fleet of cars. You have computers. You have all these, even intellectual property. You want to launch your album, and you don't have any money for promoting your launch. So the banks can rely on the information of you who is registered in our system in the security in movable interest in movable property system to get you a loan. So you qualify to use your movable property after registering with URSB system of the simple. But you know, URSB has the business register, the intellectual property register, the civil registration register, but also the simple register. So you as a company that owns property, you are advised that if you want to use that property to access loans, you have to again register it with URSB within the simple system. And it doesn't mean that you take your cows to URSB or you bring your fleet of cars to URSB. No, as long as there's evidence of ownership there, you'll be enabled to access credit. And it's a good system. It's a good system that has changed many economies, and we want to encourage financial institutions or lenders to use it. We have been used to money lenders, with all due respect. I'm not trying to undermine them. They've done a lot of work. But it is unstructured. The money lending system that has been on board has been unstructured, that somebody will take your logbook and assign transfer. If you don't pay that amount of money within a specific period, they will take your property. Or they'll switch off their phones and disappear, and they take it. So we are trying to mitigate all those risks in our society to enable an environment that has a good infrastructure for access to credit, because many businesses thrive on credit. There are very few businesses that do not have debentures or that do not have loans from financial institutions. So we encourage the users of our services to utilize that product from URSB.
Thank you very much. And this I'll come to Mr. Kisirinya. Simple, how do you welcome it as the private sector? But also on the aspect of access to credit comes in government domestic borrowing, which at the end of the day crowds out the private sector. How can we better this situation at the end of the day? Because government needs the money.
First of all, we really welcome the movable asset register that URSB has actually told us about. It's been there for some time. We think it is a major reform and we welcome it as private sector foundation. To start with, it will improve on access to finance because certainly many would-be borrowers have not been able to borrow because they don't have that land title. You know, it's just a very few number of people in Uganda that have land titles. Now, if you are able to have some other asset that you can pledge to a banking institution, I think that helps in terms of access to finance, and we are quite happy about it. Now, so to say, access to finance is becoming better and better as we move on. But one of the things that is really continuing to be a problem is the cost of that finance. Yes, it is true. We've actually seen some reduction in interest rates recently. I know some banks are now even offering finance at about probably 17%. This is a major, major development and good progress. But perhaps we could still achieve better interest rates. For sure, I will tell you that our members, for instance, in the agricultural sector, have told us that for them to work with financing that is beyond 8%, 10% is really not possible. They can't make it. Manufacturers, they can't make it at, if it goes beyond 12% and it's not long-term credit. So these remain teething challenges that we do have to work on and deal with the country. Along with that, though, unfortunately, we are seeing, and because of COVID and so on and so forth, we are seeing some continued competition for the resources that are actually available within the banking system. because government has got all these demands and has got to raise money to meet the demands that have come. So meaning that the more government is borrowing, the more the interest rates are not going to come to the level that we actually need. But we are also not doing a lot of work in trying to raise more savings into the banking sector, and particularly long-term savings. You are aware that there are reforms that we expected, for instance, in the NSSF Amendment Bill. Parliament has already passed the bill, but the process of assenting it is taking long. And in the end, what we will have is that we will have a delay in people contributing to their social security, so that when they become older, they are able to live a better life than other people. So we really need to move very quickly in terms of doing the reforms. Make sure that we have more long-term finance so that it can be used for the time being before the owners come for it. It can be used to support businesses. But also when these people become older, then they have something. You can't imagine. Let me tell you one fact, which is we must actually look at. Some statistics which we have from the National Business Register that was done some years ago. We know for sure that of every 100 companies that are registered at URSB, 93 of them have less than 5 employees. It is only 7 that have more than 5 employees. They're the ones that contribute to social security. The others, 90, what an injustice in this country. There are people who are working in companies that are small, that are employing less than 5 people. They don't have any contribution for social security. They can only do it now voluntarily. Nothing is mandatory. So many people are going to have very difficult retirement lives because they didn't have savings. So we really need to move the two things. Build long-term savings, but at the same time, ensure that the resources that get into the bank are not actually, we are not outcompeted. We are not crowded out by government, which has to borrow to finance its expenses. Perhaps they can think about borrowing outside, or even make this borrowing. They can create a market so that people who have small money can lend to government and also get the
Profit
interest.
out of it.
But right now it is not like that.
All right. Looking at my time, and the discussion seems to almost just be started right now. But coming to you, CG, you are moving into, as URA, into a step of becoming a business enabler other than just the tax collector. You've talked about IFRIS earlier on, the digital tracking solution, voluntary disclosure that is coming through. And someone out there is thinking, aren't you just setting a trap for us so that we get to use this and at the end of the day get the monies? Why are you choosing the business enablement side? That's one. And secondly, also, on one of your mandates, apart from just collecting and assessing and administering of specific tax revenues, you have the duty to advise the Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development on revenue implications, tax administration, and aspects of tax policies. And I'm bringing this with regard to the 30% tax after I have made a profit. And some Ugandans still think this is on a higher side. How are you faring on your advisory role to Ministry of Finance?
Thank you, Mildred. Let me start with the last question. Advisory role, yes. It's a big opportunity for us as URA because we collect tax, we interact with the taxpayers to feel the heat of the measures that are proposed and advise the minister. And I'm glad to inform that we are doing this. The measures that are just being presented, we've had some extensive engagement and an input to the Ministry of Finance, which we appreciate. And we look forward to do this even better. Of course, some of the measures need more research. So as we get ourselves ready to advise better, we are also deepening our research so that we can give valid advice. I agree with you, the elements of things like 30% income tax, it sounds to be on the higher side. Of course, some countries charge more, but it's about numbers. If we can charge less but have many more participating, then it makes sense. Because when the tax is lower, then even the incentive to avoid it lessens. So we will be looking into those areas, and we will be doing more research and advising the ministry gladly. The whole, the bottom line for taxes, you cannot get better taxes from struggling businesses. So us and the taxpayers should know that we are shooting in the same direction. Your business grows, we get better returns in terms of tax. Now, but Mildred, since we are quickly running out of time, allow me to say a few important things that I would like to share with the taxpayers now that we have this opportunity.
All right, ahead.
On the smart technologies you've mentioned, IFRIS is a fantastic technology. It will help the taxpayer to keep accurate records. The business of filing as we go on will be much easier and smooth, because for every sale, what IFRIS does, when you're making a sale in your supermarket or in your business, that sale is sent to our URA servers, and it is physicalized, then it returns to you in real time. The person paying will not realize. So that means we stay with a copy of that transaction, and you keep your copy. Now, such a record is fantastic. It means as we complete the process of automation and everything is seamless, maybe in future it will take away the need to file. So this whole baggage of file that we've been talking about, which the young people are running away from, in future with IFRIS, they may not have to need this. But it's a thing that also requires partnerships with our taxpayers. So as we roll out IFRIS, we want our taxpayers to be our partners, so that when you walk into a supermarket or you go to buy your cement in a hardware shop, ask the taxpayer, I want an e-receipt. E-receipt is that physicalized receipt that has reached URA and has come back to you, meaning it has paid the tax, and it doesn't increase the amount. Whether you ask for an e-receipt or you don't, you'll pay the same amount. So it's an area where we want partnership. Same with the digital tracking solution. Demand for you've seen Kapo trying to tell us about that. Demand for a bottle that has paid tax. It will be good for your health. And then, of course, we are bringing another smart technology for rentals, rental income, using satellite imagery and blockchain technology. We'll be able to know every property that earns an income and should contribute some taxes from that. So would like to ask our taxpayers to join hands with us. Now, we have established that where we are is not a comfortable place. It's not a comfortable place for the country, because these taxes are for developing the country. It's not a comfortable place for the taxpayer, because services will not be delivered. It is not a comfortable place, of course, for the tax collector. Our performance is not up to the mark. At 13% of tax to GDP, there is hardly a chance that the country can develop. In fact, research has shown that for a country to develop, you need to be collecting somewhere between 15 and 20%. And that is why, for developed nations, they are collecting over 30%. For Latin America and others, they are collecting over 25%. Even in Africa, for developed nations like South Africa, Morocco, they are collecting above 25%. So for Uganda to be developing at 13% of tax to GDP ratio, I think it is, first of all, an indication that our leaders are prioritizing. Whatever they are doing is what matters. That's why you can see a road being built at 13%. I think it would be much more difficult if they were focusing on spending on consumptive activities. We would not be seeing any progress. So if we agree as taxpayers and tax collectors and citizens who want a service that where we are is not a comfortable place, let's join hands. And one of the things we have introduced to make sure that we move in collaboration is alternative dispute resolution. We have about over 600 cases in court with different taxpayers. They spend money on lawyers, we spend money on our officers going to defend ourselves. But why are we doing this? I mean, taxes are for developing the nation which we live in, and we should take pride in paying our taxes. Why should I overassess you as Uganda Revenue Authority? Why should I ask you tax that you should not be paying? Why? Even if I charge you more, I will not take home more as a salary unless if I steal it. So we are saying let's settle tax matters amicably. Okay. We sit around the table, we talk with the taxpayer, we tell him, but you know, sir, here you did not declare this sale. He says, okay, I realize I did not. I will declare it. He says, but you, Office of URA, here you assumed that I had no expense. This is my receipt. We reconcile. In the last 9 months, we have settled about 25 cases through that channel, alternative dispute resolution. And we have collected 212 billion from that approach. It's a win-win. The taxpayer walks out happy. He has fulfilled his obligation. He's not hiding from URA or fighting with URA in court anymore. The only maybe loser in this equation is the lawyers. But they should also, there is more work for lawyers, so don't be against this approach.
Okay.
So I want to take this opportunity to invite the hundreds in court with us, come and we settle. Another thing that I mentioned earlier, voluntary disclosure. Now, the law has given Commissioner some bit of authority that for any taxpayer who checks voluntarily and declares on their own without being prompted, I had not seen this tax, I had not declared it, even if it's for 10 years ago, he will go scotch-free from penalty or interest. That's a window we should utilize. Okay. So that we settle our tax matters. Because the risk is, Mildred, and I want to get off in the interest of time, when you wait for me to prompt, I've told you now we are doing information analysis, and it is showing amazing data. If you wait for me to prompt you and say, but Mildred, here you did not declare this income, it can no longer be qualifying for voluntary disclosure. Okay. It is recovery of tax with penalty and interest. Now, finally, for us to walk this journey, we all need to approach it with clean hands. I'm asking taxpayers approach with clean hands. As URA, we are committing to walk this journey with clean hands. Okay. We are recommitting to integrity. Corruption will be zero at URA. We will do the right thing and do it transparently and efficiently to the benefit of our taxpayers. And we will do everything because it is our opportunity to serve our nation and do it patriotically and do it with commitment. So I want to assure our taxpayers that where we are going, it will be a smooth and mutually beneficial relationship. No one will be coerced into paying what they have not earned, and let's not hide from each other.
Great news for the taxpayers right there. Our time is fast spent, but Ms. Kainobwisho, before we leave, we should not leave without talking about marriages. The registration, I saw somewhere filing marriage returns, and I was asking myself how that comes through, because marriage is a business for others. Where the caterers, where the, decorators, and the people hiring out car services and everything. So it's a business in itself as well. Let's speak about it a bit.
Yes, thank you, Mildred. Yes, URSB's mandate is to register marriages, civil marriages, but also to receive returns from places of worship that have conducted marriages. These are licensed places. We should appreciate that there are different types of marriages in Uganda. We have the civil marriage, we have the Hindu marriage, we have the Muslim marriage, we have the church marriage, we have the customary marriage. And all these marriages are legal under the laws of Uganda. It is one thing to conduct a marriage, and it is another thing for the state to know this record. So under the law, the places of worship, these are the churches that are licensed to conduct marriages, are expected to file returns. And by returns, we mean that they have to file this information of the marriages they have conducted. And marriages are not weddings. Weddings are ceremonies. Marriages that they have conducted with URSB. And so when your marriage is not on the state register, it does not make it illegal, but there are many things that you miss out. Banks may want to verify who is your real spouse for purposes of giving you credit. But even other countries, if you want to go across borders with your spouse or family, the embassies will have to verify with URSB on behalf of the state. So these marriages have to be on our register. And it's very easy to conduct a civil marriage, in addition to filing these places of worship, filing these returns as a requirement of the law. We also issue licenses. Every place that conducts a marriage must be licensed by the Ministry of Justice through URSB. And when you see a marriage being conducted in a church that is not licensed, that marriage is void from the start. We also give special licenses if you want to conduct your marriage in a public place. And a public place here, we mean like hotels, Munyonyo, where Sheraton, you've seen pastors ceremonizing marriages in those places. It is URSB, the ministry or the government, that authorizes and gives those licenses. If you conduct, or any pastor or any religious leader conducts a marriage in a place that is not licensed, there is no marriage at all. Lastly, the procedure for marriages is just by application. For civil marriages, an application is made. You have to be 18 years and above. We have to have an LC letter. We have to have consent from your parents, especially when you're below 21. There's need for consent between 18 and below 21. We need affidavits that confirm that you have not been married before, because for marriages to be valid, you must not have conducted a marriage anywhere, or you must be divorced somewhere, so you must not be in a subsisting marriage. You pay around about 200,000 to 250, and we publish you on our notice boards, electronic notice boards, all over URSB.
Publishing is where the problem comes.
Yes, for
some
21
people.
days, and then we give you a date of marriage. But there's also provision for dispensing with the 21 days, especially when you're traveling very soon and there's evidence that you're moving out of the country or you're going for studies. We can dispense, the minister can dispense with those 21 days. And then you get your civil marriage. Very affordable, very accessible, in time. We conduct close to 12 marriages on a day, between 10 to 12 marriages every day. Marriage, and I don't think there's any place of worship that
and divorces?
handles that. No, the law does not permit us to register divorces, apart from the law that relates to the Mohammedan, the Muslim marriages, because it is self-contained. And that one you register the marriages, but also the talaks, the divorces. Okay. But for Christian marriages, we do not hold the register of divorces. But when you declare yourself in the forms, the application forms, as a divorcee, we need evidence of the decree absolute, which confirms that you are a divorcee and you are eligible for another marriage. So the information on divorces is in the courts. But now we are trying to work with the courts to integrate our data to see when Mildred comes to get married, there will be data about your history of relationship in as far as marriages are concerned.
Okay.
Thank you.
Your final remarks in just a minute as we get out.
Thank you very much. The business environment moves economies, and we all have a role to play as institutions that facilitate business registration. We must address the bottlenecks, and I'm glad that we have addressed them by putting in place ICT infrastructure. You had the systems that are in place, by making our services accessible, by putting in place one-stop shop models, by the coverage within our countries, within the local governments and beyond, by enabling the institutional framework, the institutions that are mandated to register or start these businesses. We have to take interest in the indicators that are provided by the World Bank and our performance, and as far as the decision in investment decisions are concerned under the World Bank models or methodology. We need to embrace the cooperation, the communication, the coordination among the MDAs that affect the business facilitation. And I want to thank our viewers and our partners, especially URA. We enjoy a very good relationship with URA because we integrated. Sometimes we are like one organization working together because the information they have is the information we have. And together through these model projects, the tax register expansion projects, with support in as far as tax education, registration education is concerned, we need to move out there to the public and give as much as information that is needed by the public, but also simplify it for the ordinary person to embrace.
True.
Thank you very much.
Simplification. Mr. Kisirinya, over to you for your concluding remarks.
Yeah, thanks very much. First of all, thank you and NBS for this particular program, and thank my colleagues on the panel. Just to emphasize that for us as private sector foundation, we are convinced that partnerships is the way to go. We need to continue engaging and working together with the government agencies and ourselves so that we are able to create and implement solutions that will drive our country to the next level. It's very clear the things that we have worked on together with the government, how successful they are. One of them is the URSB. We really participated in the reform and also in the implementation. We've also participated in the reforms that are happening in the Ministry of Lands and so many other reforms in the legal and regulatory framework. And the returns we are seeing are actually massive. So we encourage continued partnership between the government and ourselves. Thank you very much.
All right, and CG, I'll give you a minute as well to give your concluding remarks.
Thank you, Mildred, first of all, for moderating this debate very well, and my colleague panelists for the discussions, and our listeners, really, for braving the night to listen to some of the discussion we had here. Now, in conclusion, Mildred, I want to take this opportunity to thank our taxpayers for the great contribution they've made over the years. I want to thank all those who have, on their own, contributed their fair share of tax. I also want to take this opportunity to encourage those who have not been paying tax, that this is time when we need to join hands to build our nation, and I appeal to all of you to come on board. Now, sometime last year, when we were having discussion with PSFU, organized PSFU for the small and medium enterprises, I made reference to a scripture in the Bible, which was confirmation that even God approves of tax. You can read it at your own time. It's found in the Gospel of Mark, the 12th chapter, from verse 13 up to about 17. They asked Jesus, is it right to pay tax? And these are friends, these are people who are really not friends, but because they had a common interest, they came together. They said, is it really right to pay tax? And he picked a coin and he said, okay, what face is here? And they said Caesar. So he said, okay, pay to Caesar what belongs to Caesar, and to God what belongs to God. The essence of that scripture is that when God gives us money in our businesses, this money is clearly marked for 3 different envelopes, and we are safe if we want to prosper to keep the envelopes separate. There is money for God, there is money for your business, and there is money for taxes, for government. If you want to prosper, separate, keep those envelopes separate, don't mix. So let's agree to join hands. Now, for those who may not comply to these appeals we are making, all the measures of alternative settlements, of voluntary disclosure, and want to stay adamant, we are also finding a solution for them. So as I conclude, I want to share some numbers with
Okay.
our taxpayers to deal with some indiscipline on our part as tax collectors. Remember, we also have our own problems,
Yeah.
which we are not shy to admit, because if we don't, we will not go far. We will not build this nation.
Okay.
So we have set up a division headed by an assistant commissioner to monitor staff compliance,
Okay.
staff discipline. Any revenue officer who continues to do things that cause revenue leakage, they will not have a comfortable stay at URA going forward. Okay. So when I asked for a note from my colleagues here, I wanted to get his number, because we are setting up an automated, integrated service support system. We'll have free toll lines, we'll have confidential hotlines, we will have information coming by email, by WhatsApp, by all sorts of platforms, integrated and efficiently managed. It is under construction. We should have this launched at the end of this financial year, end of June. So we'll have the hotlines. But before the hotlines come in, I've asked my staff, and they will bear with me, the inconvenience. I want to share their numbers with the public, so that at least anyone who sees the URA officer doing something wrong, we don't wait for June. It's a long time, and we need money immediately.
Okay.
So the gentleman who heads this compliance division is called Mr. James Abola. He's a man of integrity. We had to go headhunting for his renowned integrity in this community of ours. His number is 0772 141075. I repeat, 0772 141075. If you identify any departure from the integrity line, good customer care, the things we have pledged before you, call James, and we will take collective measures.
Okay.
Now, if you identify a taxpayer who continues to do the other things, of hiding sales, of concealing revenue, we have another hotline headed by another lady of integrity. She's been in URA for 20-something years, and there is no taint of corruption against her record. This lady is called Jane Akelo. Jane Akelo's number is 0772 140387. Jane Akelo is in charge of management of informers who give us information about tax leakage, now on the side of the taxpayers. Unfortunately for this group, there is even a reward. Anybody who brings information that leads to successful tax recovery is entitled to 5% of the tax recovered. So there is an extra incentive. There is somebody who will receive this information. And these are temporary numbers. When we have automated, we will publish our hotlines everywhere. But in the meantime, let's not lose any revenue. So you can call Jane Akelo or James Abola, and let's get started. Let's recover some revenue, and let's bring sanity to the organization that collects. Thank you so much, Mildred, for bearing with us. I think it's an indication that we needed more time.
Exactly.
Please call us again. Thank you.
We will definitely be able to get you back. There is a lot more that we needed to discuss with PSFU and URSB, but I'll just remind our viewers that you can visit the offices, physical and online offices of any of these organizations to get many more details coming through. And also, we will be able to continue with this discussion online using the hashtag Spotlight UG. Thank you so much to the Ministry of ICT and National Guidance for enabling this to come through. Thank you so much to UBC TV for also broadcasting this live, and NBS television as well. And to the audience that was right here with us, I thank you so much, and to all our panelists for coming through. It's been a great pleasure. May God bless you. I want to say a very good morning to you. Let's meet in the next few minutes, next few hours actually, on the Morning Breeze. But like URA says, let's develop Uganda together by playing your fair share of paying the taxes. Good morning.